chains, desperate men built to straw flail limbs. I cut them down with my chainsaw. Keen eye, see better from up here. Kinda cold, so I get a little grizzly sometimes. Wind through my chest hair. Oh my God, I wish I could do that. I don't think so, but I don't know. When I was a kid, you were someone's secret. You've been undercover ever since you got here. Still have your figure after all these dog years. I don't think so, I don't think so. Shine like a dog star, you can light the coastline, but they never see you try to tell you so. Right, look at my teeth, getting lost up there, lying through your braces. That's impossible. Drop down, you can hardly bear. Double park spaceship, that won't happen. I'm right here picking up the chairs, but I was first, so I cleaned up last. What then? Oh no, I was eating berries, getting sm-
Warning: the content shared in this live stream is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the channel or its affiliates. Please be aware that live interactions may involve spontaneous discussions that are unscripted and not fact-checked. Some language used in this performance may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Always do your own research and consult professionals where necessary. And remember,
stay dirty, stay dusty, and stay in the bush.
Welcome to See You Next Tuesday live stream, where we delve into the fascinating world of self-sufficiency, outdoor survival, and the art of homesteading. Today's episode promises to be a treasure trove of knowledge and inspiration as we welcome our special guest, Rogue Spear. With a wealth of experience in bushcraft and hands-on homesteading, Rogue embodies the spirit of sustainable living. Known for his extensive reading and practical skills, he has mastered everything from preserving garden produce to crafting essential tools and structures with his own hands. Together with his wife, they have not only embraced the joys of self-reliance, but have also cultivated a robust lifestyle that harmonizes with nature. As we explore topics such as foraging, food preservation, and DIY projects, Rogue will share invaluable tips and tricks that can empower you to lead a more sustainable and fulfilling life. So whether you're an experienced homesteader or just starting to explore these disciplines, you won't want to miss this engaging conversation that combines practical advice with a passion for the great outdoors. Every episode promises to be a treasure trove, a knowledge of the fascinating world of self-sufficiency, outdoor survival, and the art of homesteading. Today's episode promises to be a treasure trove of knowledge and inspiration as we welcome our special guest, Rogue Spear, with a love of and spirit of sustainable living. Today's episode promises to be a treasure trove of knowledge and inspiration as we welcome our special guest, Rogue Spear, with a wealth of experience in bushcraft and hands-on homesteading. Rogue embodies the spirit of sustainable living. Known for his extensive reading and practical skills, he has mastered everything from preserving garden produce to crafting essential tools and structures with his own hands. Together with his wife, they have not only embraced the joys of self-reliance, but have also cultivated a robust lifestyle that harmonizes with nature. As we explore topics such as foraging, food preservation, and DIY projects, Rogue will share invaluable tips and tricks that can empower you to lead a more sustainable and fulfilling life. So whether you're an experienced homesteader or just starting to explore these disciplines, you won't want to miss this engaging conversation that combines practical advice with a passion for the great outdoors. Grab your notepad, settle in, and get ready to be inspired, because today's show is all about taking charge of your lifestyle and reconnecting with nature in a way that is both enriching and rewarding.
Good morning, friends. Thanks for stopping by. I think we're going to have a great show today. I'm really excited to introduce my friend here, Rogue. Rogue, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, I'm going to bring you up. Let's get you up on stage here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, I guess it's almost afternoon for you, but
Yeah, it's a frozen morning here. We have hard packed ice everywhere. You can't like take a step without practically slipping somewhere this today.
What's the
I look at your
temperature?
videos and it just teases me. I can't wait to be able to for spring to come around. Go for a nice walk in the woods.
Right on, man. Yeah, I mean, like I'm really noticing, especially the last couple of days, the rain has kind of subsided a little bit, but all the trees the buds are coming out, and you get that smell in the
Yeah,
air of spring.
yeah, it's very good in a way. The ice storm to it helps to take out the weak trees, and it helps to reinforce the strong ones. And basically, yeah, you're going to have a lot of trees that fall. There's going to be a lot of damage, but given after a few years, you're going to have a few years of safe trees that are not going to be falling. You're going to deal with those things in the next few weeks, and then those hazard trees are not going to be around anymore. So it's a good thing in a way that it happens, because it will make it safe for the next weather events that are coming.
It's like nature's way of pruning, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you see that
exactly.
a lot of the like this time, well, not really this time of year, but like a month ago here, you would see a lot of these really heavy snow-laden branches, and they would, be breaking off all over the place. Well, I think that's good in a sense because it kind of wind firms the tree too. Like it gives it more rigidity, less surface to collect wind. So I think a lot of the times that
Yeah,
sort of nature's
I do a lot
process.
of tree trimming. Like that's part of my work, and pruning trees and removing branches that are hazards and stuff like that. And I'm
Yeah,
surprised how little people will put any investment into these trees until it's too late, and then it's already a hazard ready to go, right? And I know this so well. Like right now, I'm gonna have like work coming probably just all month just to do with tree removals and deal with this branch and deal with this, and it's going to fall in my house or whatever it is. I only
yeah,
deal with
yeah,
a certain amount of liability though. Like I'm not going to do something super risky or anything. I know, yourself, like you're a bush guy. Like you actually did the experience of cutting trees to go into
mhm,
the forest and uh, take out hazardous trees. You're dealing with that on a daily basis, right? You know
yeah,
what's safe, what's not safe just by looking at it. And the same thing, like when I go to these sites, I can't just deal with any problem. It has to be something that I see, okay, I could deal with this. This is safe, right?
yeah. You do an assessment. I was actually a wildlife and wildfire danger tree assessor for a few years back, where I'd go into fire situations like burned out areas and then
Hmm.
give it an assessment before the mop up crews would come in, whether it was safe for or if say like a tree was really dangerous, they would blast it. They would bring in a blasting crew and blast it to knock it down. But
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to do it the safe way, and that's what I
yeah,
call the tree guys, and they come and do the work that I can't take care of. But there's a lot of work that's just very low. It's already the trees on the ground. There's no worries.
mhm,
I just got to do
I'm,
it safely. Right? So it's the
yeah,
same kind of procedure I would use in my own property, where I have to deal with hazardous trees all the time. You just take your time, and little bit by bit, you remove the tree.
speaking of your property, why don't you? Because I don't know if everybody in the viewership here knows you. I know we got a few friends in here, but why don't you just give us a little breakdown on where you're at and what you're doing out there, if you don't mind?
Well, where I'm at was like initially, I've been here for like 15 years now. In 2010, I arrived to the property, and it was like a junkyard basically. It was an abandoned property. There was like a lot of complications with this property, but it
Yeah,
was exactly the kind of property I was looking for, because I wanted like something that I can I had a chance to be able to like fix up and improve. Like when you usually get a fixer upper house, it gives you a chance to get it at an affordable price and to make improvements and improve your life. Well, the
yeah,
same thing for me. I said, well, maybe if I improve this property, I clean it up and I make the road usable and turn it from a 2-season property to a 4-season property. I could eventually, increase the value of the property and make it more desirable to develop in the future or whatever. So in the initial stages, like I wasn't aware what I was doing. Like I didn't know anything. I was just like, as much as a city boy as probably anybody else. I did live on a farm for 5 years, but it wasn't anything like what I had experienced. Like I just basically came with 40 loads of stuff, and I stayed in a bus that was on the property initially, and I just survived it as best as I could. And the first year was very, very difficult. The second year was extremely difficult. I got animals early in the game, and it only made things more difficult. You know what I mean? And I learned like everything the hard way. So,
classic example of don't do what I do, right?
exactly. But through all the struggles you learn, right? Like, okay, now I better, slow down on the animals, focus on other things. And then it gave me a lot more time. But I do want to go back to the animals, because like I actually think that that's the completion of the cycle for what is a regenerative system. And that's what I'm trying to create on a small scale. Like I'm taking land that's been depleted by a mining pollution. There's an excessive amount of let's just say sulfur in the ground and stuff, and it is breaking down over time, but like it's not ground you could garden in. It just grows like weeds and grass, and so I had to learn how to create a regenerative system. And the only way it works is with animals, because when you have animals pasturing, it like of course it does so many things for the land that it helps it like just on the fertilization of the animals, you know what I mean, crapping all over the place. It helps basically the land recover and come back as more of a pasture than a weed,
well, it helps
garden, right?
It helps replenish the microbes in the soil, right? That
yes, it replenishes the microbes. New mushrooms come up, new flowers come up, new life comes up. Where if you just leave it wild, it just turns into what is everything else around you, and it's like spruce trees, and which is great for this environment. It is natural for this environment to have that, but I actually believe that it's also possible to create food forests in small areas, and I've seen it myself. Like, and what happens is you create a small pocket of new life. Say it's like perennials, like apple trees and bush trees, like berry trees, and things that will sustain and be able to live with the nature that you're planting it in, because everything wants to kill like your whatever else you grow there, right? Yeah, it's just like every tree or everything you plant, everything just wants to take over, and like the weeds and the trees and everything wants to grow in your garden. Like it's hard to create a regenerative system like that is a new concept in that forest. It's something new. Every animal wants to see it. Every animal wants to taste it. So you have to grow enough of it so that it's plentiful and it's not getting like the deer coming through. If you have deer, they're going to cause some damage, but they're just going to move on and they're not going to destroy everything, right? But if you only have one apple tree, you're I regard that apple tree, because you got bears coming, you got deer coming, you got everything, raccoons, everything coming out, squirrels. Even in myself, like I grow fruit trees right now, but my fruit, I have to fight the animals for them. So it's always like a struggle. Yeah.
If it's not the kids, it's the animals, right? I remember the neighbor's kid last year, I was watching, they're picking all the cherries off their tree, and I'm like, they're not even ripe yet. Like, let them at least turn red.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a challenge. It's a challenge one way or another. I haven't like actually figured out like how to be 100% self-sustainable. Like I've been looking for that. I was at some points thinking that I had it figured out, but the more you experience it and you see, okay, a lot of people were selling me garbage. Like it's just not practical for my environment. Maybe it was working in their environment, but there's a lot of like permaculture techniques that I've been working on figuring out. Of course, some of them are more like, a lot of this permaculture stuff is designed for like warm climates, and when they teach you the stuff, they're not thinking about what you're dealing with in -40 weather and stuff like that. It's like a special type of permaculture for cold weather, and I've been learning that. I know who the people. What's that?
I was gonna say that's been really a consistent theme for me the last couple of weeks, is just realizing like all these tiny little microclimates that everybody lives in. Like I'm talking to people all over the world, and they're like, just use this, and oh man, the yucca plant's great for this, and I'm like, we don't have yucca plants here. Like, same deal with you with like the permaculture. We don't have those same seasons or conditions, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
unique to
Mm-hmm.
yours, so you got to kind of figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, you got to experiment and see what works. Like sometimes, surprisingly, some things work very, very well, and you tap into something new for your environment. And it's like they had it like a little bit of that figured out for goji berries for a while, but it turned out that it was just we got a few hard winters, and even though they were cold climate, they could only handle so much. So you could push the boundary, but it doesn't always work with the trying to grow new things and stuff like that. It's best to just grow what really grows well in your environment, right? And stick to what's simple and what's perennials is the way to go, because like you do the work on the perennials and it pays off for many years to come, as opposed to when you're just growing a vegetable garden or whatever. It's like you get your reward that year, but then
You got
you got to start over again every
You
freaking
got to
year,
flex
right?
seeds. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I mean, a vegetable garden has its value and everything. I'm just saying, like, as far as a sustainable system that you're gonna create and walk away from, and 50 years from now, your grandchildren will be eating from that food forest, right? Like, there's a guy in Montreal, not Montreal, but somewhere in Quebec, and he has a food forest, and he said that what happened after a while is that the new birds started coming in, and he had
Right.
birds that he's never seen before. And then all of a sudden, he said new trees started appearing, like these berry trees and nut trees that he had never grown before. Like
The
he had
birds.
never seen it, and he didn't know how they got there.
Yeah.
And what happened is the birds took the seed from other gardens that were 500 miles away and brought it to his little garden, and they were doing the work, okay, of managing the food forest to some extent, right? And the animals do their part. And when all you need to do is like kind of set it up the right things, and then you could eventually walk away. It just perpetuate on its own, you know.
Yeah, and they'll just take over. I watched a video. I can't remember who it was, but I think you're frozen a bit there, but or that could be me, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, I watched a video where this guy had a what he called a food forest, and he was off grid living, but they ate everything they ate. They grew, so it was quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're frozen there.
Oh, am I frozen? The screen is no.
There you go. You're back where you were.
Yeah. Like I was just saying about Bushcraft, that is the basis, like fundamental starting.
Yeah, he just dropped right off. Oh, he'll come back in a second. Yeah, the permaculture is when, like, that's one of the things with bushcraft and survival is, the reality is what are you going to eat? Like, it's all fine and dandy during salmon season, and you can just pull fish out of the river, but come this time of the year, what are you going to eat? So I don't know, I've been thinking about that, like trying to maybe, one thing I really need to do is learn more about foraging wild plants, but hopefully he can get back in here. Yeah, so I've been kind of studying this book lately. It's Edible and Medicinal Plants of Canada, and I'm really enjoying it. There's great color photography in it too, so it's easy to see. Oh, there it is. It's easy to see the stage.
Sorry about that.
If it gets too shitty for you, sometimes if you just click your camera off, it takes lots of your
I'm on the
bandwidth.
edge. Like I'm on the edge of a connection. Like at the end of the, I have a weak connection basically. The towers are also experienced a lot of ice in the last couple of days, so they're like,
Yeah.
my connections have been just dropping off on and off ever since this ice storm.
You're right in that ice storm, or?
Oh yeah, we got another 2 days of it coming. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I heard a couple
It's a
people
good day
without
today, though.
power.
Nice. Yeah, it's a sunny day, but it's a cold day, and everything's solid as a rock right there right now.
Like
It's
how
like
what temperature is it?
It's probably like a -11 or whatever.
Holy
Like
fuck.
that.
That's
Yeah.
too cold for me.
That's a nice day out here. Like that's a day I could go outside without a shirt on. But you know, -20 and I don't dunk to. I
I'm
don't
just
think.
looking to see what it is right here right now. It's 6 degrees, but it's only 20 after 8 in the morning. So yeah.
Yeah, what I like about the bushcraft, like I'm a big bushcraft guy. Like this is something that I've been studying before. It was probably something like a 20-year study, but I got really serious about it maybe
Hey,
15 years
why
ago.
don't you try? Why don't you try turning off your camera and see if that helps? Because you're just chopping right out
Okay.
for me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try that.
Yeah, then try that.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, you'll need to hear me clearly because sometimes I speak fast.
Yeah, I was chopping
yeah,
up
so,
though. The video.
yeah, that's what it is. It's just easier if I don't have a camera on. No, I was gonna say what I like about bushcraft here is the
Yep.
fact that bushcraft is like the fundamental basis of like survival skills. It's how to survive with the least amount of items, and it's like the type of survival skill like you could find yourself at any time having need or use. You might be able to. Anything could happen. You could be flying on a plane, crash, and end up being one of the survivors, and you got to do it. It could be anything. It could just, you find yourself in this where you know I've been lost myself. This is how I got into bushcraft because what happened is once you get lost and you have nothing on you and you realize how weak you are and how vulnerable you are to nature, the only thing that's preventing you from surviving is a language, right? And it had to just acquire that you'd be able to survive. You know? So I found that scenario and I never.
We're not getting you clearly, Rogue. You're just robot.
Oh no, can't hear me clearly. Yeah. Let me try move my phone. Maybe that'll help.
Okay. Sorry, man. It's
no problem. No problem. You got to tell me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know until you start talking.
Okay. Okay. So
yeah. That's
anyway. Better. Maybe that's a little bit better. I was just saying, like, bushcraft is like the essential skill that you could find yourself needing at any time. So you learn that. It's kind of like when you send your children to Boy Scouts. Why do we send them Boy Scouts? So they could learn the fundamental skills of survival if they ever needed that. But we unfortunately got away from that, and now it's, I don't know what it is, but we're not teaching them the real skills of what it is to survive. And because of that, we're going to have a lost knowledge that's going to happen, and it's already happened. And now it's time to return to the lost knowledge and figure out, like, what is the skill that I need to just survive at any time? And you might think, well, you won't need that in this day and age because we're a modern society now. But modern society doesn't change the fact that you could find yourself in the scenario where you're lost and you need to survive, and you need to know the basic skills of how to make a fire, how to create cordage, how to find yourself food, how to trap an animal, whatever it might be that will save your life there, right?
I was just listening, like this morning I was listening to a podcast. It wasn't a podcast. It was actually I think it was like an ebook or whatever, but it was a story about this, these high altitude nuclear blasts that they there was some sort of war broke out, and there was like a high altitude nuclear blast, and they caused these EMPs, and like everybody just suddenly nothing worked, and they're like, what the fuck happened? Why is it like this? And so it's kind of goes into that whole like, oh, okay, all of a sudden there isn't all that stuff that we relied on. There is no gas from the gas pumps because there's no electricity to run them. Like everything was shut.
So, like, what would we do if something happened and we went back in technology 200 years in one step? You know what I mean?
Yeah, in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, like now what do we do? Okay, like how do we bring back ourselves to a civilization? I'm for civilization. I'm for technology. I'm super for it. But I will never distance myself from where it starts at. The starting point is like from the building blocks of nature. And then with that, you can start with that to create a whole civilization. And what are the steps? It's more than just bushcraft, but bushcraft is the starting point. It's what you teach children. It's what you would learn as a young man to know before you go into the world, this is a skill that I'm going to have. Like, it should be just as much as important as math or English or anything else to me. It's that important, bushcraft, you know.
It is, and I always try and teach my son when I'm out with him. I really emphasize on noticing, like, pay attention to your resources around you. Like, okay, you're walking along and you see some flat stones, then there's flat stones there. Or if you see a nice piece of firewood somewhere, and you're like, okay, I know there's a nice. So like, but that's simple examples, but just noticing your environs, like paying attention. So, you're always got to be thinking about what could I do here? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
Even if you see a plant you could eat, well, then there's edible food there at least. Even if you don't eat it, you just notice that it's there.
Like, you got to know what you could do with, if you were just stuck with the plants and nature, what do you do? Once you know all of that, then you could move on to, what if you find a snowmobile that's like an old rusted snowmobile? What do you do with that to survive? Oh, okay, well, there's little things in that snowmobile that could help you start a fire later down the road. There's maybe, it's not that you're going to run out of the snowmobile, but there's shelter capacity. There's little things that you could do that will
see or something.
Yeah, you got to look at that thing, even that technology, and say, okay, now if I do come across the technology, I'll know what to do with it and how to deal with that thing as well, right? So I don't limit myself technology, because it would be impractical. Like, if you tried to cut all your firewood with just an axe, okay, you'd be like so hurting, and you would have no time to do anything else that would be constructive, right?
Could you imagine those poor bastards back in the day that used to have to do that? Like, just all they did all day long was cut firewood with a handsaw and an axe, and just fed steam boilers.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, how did they do it? I have a hard enough time with my nice big chainsaw and everything. And it's like, of course, I'm doing capacity. Maybe they wouldn't have been able to do, right? But it's just, it's in a way, it's just as labor intensive, because I'm moving more wood now. Yeah, I'm not cutting as much, but man, am I ever moving wood.
Yeah, wood's an ongoing challenge, isn't it? Yeah.
So like, what you'll find is, if you study enough of the bushcraft skills, then eventually you learn everything that you could learn. And then you're like, well, you see all these connection points. Oh, this connects to permaculture over here. Oh, this connects also to, like, okay, from that, then there's another concept here. What a person like who's like surviving and stuff, it's the concept of, oh, I'm like taking ownership of this land here. I'm like having sovereignty over a piece of property, or I'm like, it's the concept of, like, you're going to protect something. You're going to have something that call your own, you know what I mean? And there's, like, in that, like, even if it's not like your own property, if it's like a food forest you're taking care of, it's like you feel you have stake in that, you know what I mean? And that allows you could come, and your children could come generations in the future and go into that food forest and still benefit from the work you did there. Like, there's something special about that. And that's where I see, like, the future. Like, if we were to have the dream future, like, of course, let's just say, would be one where we think of how we deal with our food systems. We're going to grow our food systems around us instead of having to export it like 4,000 kilometers away. And we're going to build our homes in such a way that it melts in with the landscape. It functions with the landscape. It's not like a cancer on the landscape. And what you have all the regenerative systems there, that permaculture fits perfectly in with the bushcraft skills. What happens is, what are you going to do with your waste? What are you going to do? How are you going to organize yourself to have good access and good security and good things like that? It allows you to regrow that land and have self-sustainability. And you could even, like, be self-sustainable in some ways, but if you can't keep that garden safe, then it's not going to be sustainable very long.
do you watch have you watched the Alone series?
Alone. Okay, that was like a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's going back a couple years now. But
I watched like everything. Like, after I got lost in the bush, I came back out and I watched every video I could ever watch on anything that ever was on TV that had to do with survival.
Well, if you watch, I think it was the last season, season 8, and there's a guy in there named Clay, and he shot a deer, and right you know, which is great. But then he had to deal with the fact that there's grizzly bears walking all over the place that also want that deer. So
Yeah.
you're right about protecting your investment. I hadn't really honestly thought about that with a garden in that sort of way. Like I think about pests. It's annoying. I got beautiful broccoli, and I get up in the morning and some rodents chewed all the tops off it, right? But I haven't really thought about defending your property against other predators, mainly humans,
Yeah.
I guess. But
Yeah, the humans is the least bit of the problem at this point, but give it a
now, yeah,
scenario, like a scenario where, you know, we go back 200 years. I wouldn't be worried for myself, but for people that are in the large farmscapes, like they're going to be vulnerable. That's the first place people are going to go to get food.
yeah, yep, I know. But it kind
That's
of
why we need, like, instead of these large farms where we grow like all just one crop, which is an industrial concept that we've adapted and we just keep doing, and it destroys the earth, and we keep adding fertilizer to grow our food and pesticides and all this crap. We need as like many regenerative gardens and systems that it's basically it's organic. It works off animal manure and the hands that are working that. And maybe there's machines involved, of course, but it's going to be more of the old way that we used to farm, and a lot less of the industrial farming, right? Because the industrial, all these machines, they require they run on they compress the ground, they destroy things. Like they're not actually regenerating the land. They have to every year plow that land, and they have to basically destroy it a little bit to be able to grow food the next year on it, and it depletes and depletes and depletes over time.
and it's a leech on the resource itself. Like you're obviously, if say you're gardening a 1 acre and you get, you know, say 10 bushels, and then you got to sell 5 of those bushels just to pay for the fuel to run the tractor to harvest the 10 bushels. Is that what kind of what you're getting at? Like it's
Well, the thing is that like, let's just put it this way, okay? There was a time when people just did it with horses, right? And
Mhm.
one horse eventually, like, he was able to do a good amount of work, but you'd have this combine that eventually started lining up next to the horse on the next property over, and that combine was able to do the work of 100,000 horses. Okay, so
Yeah.
that horse, it became useless over a period of time. It was like, you know, he couldn't compete with the combine. So that combine was very efficient and very good in the beginning because the soil was very fertile at that time. But what happened
Mm.
is now, as the soil, it becomes like literally a desert soil after many years of erosion and fertilizers and pesticides and stuff. The only thing that, like, what happens now is that those tractors, they're driving on top of that, they're ripping the soil apart. Every time you break that first 1 inch of soil, you just destroyed the microbiome of that soil. It exists in that first inch. Okay, so now it has to regenerate all its microbiome. It has to regenerate all its worms. It has to regenerate all its bugs, all the things that would normally be there. That's why you have pesticide. You need pesticide because the natural insect that would be there to deal with that pest is not there because it's the way that the food is being grown. Also, just a single monocrop, it doesn't allow the enough variety for other like insects to come into the picture. It's just going to be
Right.
one type of insect that's going to friggin' eat that crop.
Yeah.
So
I see.
it's a tricky thing growing like either way. Like if you do the industrial way, there's a time limit to that. After you run out of land to grow on, then you're going to have to figure out something else to grow the food. That's basically it. And they're already knowing this. That's why they're trying to grow hydroponic food. But hydroponic food doesn't give you the nutrients that you'll get from growing it on the land.
Really.
And like hydroponics it's not sustainable. Like it requires all these systems in place and pumps and this and that, and it's expensive. You know what I mean? The sun, the land, the rain, and nature does it for you, right?
Mhm. What about on your homestead? What about utilizing your human waste? What do you
No,
do with that?
the human waste, it's not enough to actually grow like enough food to do anything. So, and it's also like, even if you had it like properly composted, it would be like so insignificant that it's not even worth like the effort. What is the situation with the human waste is it has to be composted, and it has to be, if anything is brought to a type of tree or a garden or a thing that you're not going to grow, like it's going to serve a purpose, but it's not going to be like the thing that is going to fertilize your garden. You know what I mean? It's just going to fertilize some trees over there that you're not eating anything off of.
Right. What about like do you have salmon like runs? Like I know a lot of people around here, they'll collect salmon guts and heads and tails and bury it in there.
We have, we don't, not where I am. Like we do have salmon runs. Are hard to, it's a complex thing to do. It's expensive to get into the salmon business, but smelts, there is smelts. Okay. And smelts is one of those things. People, sometimes they go and there's a good smelt run. They end up stuck getting more smelts than what they can handle. And they only figure it at the end, and then they bring you their smelts and it's like, here, you want to use this for your garden? Yeah, sure. But you got to know how to deal with a bucket of smelts. You don't just throw that around all over the place.
Your dogs will have fun with
that. Yeah, exactly. The bears are going to have a fun time. If you you don't deal with that properly, you're going to have bears all over the freaking place.
Yeah. When I was growing up, we had pigs and chickens, and I remember, so we always did a batch of like 50 or 100 chickens at the most. And then I remember my first time doing it on my own. I'm like, I'm not just going to do 50. I'm going to do 200. Holy shit. What a mistake, man. You know, the difference between doing 50 chickens and doing 200 chickens is so.
You're better to do 50 right than 150 wrong.
Exactly, man. Because you got so much. It's a lot of work. Holy shit. And feed too. Holy man, the feed was expensive, but.
Oh, yeah. So were you going to get some land one day or what?
Well, we got our city lot. I don't know. We're kind of tied into a mortgage here, so I don't see anytime soon that happening. I think it's more likely more likely that it would be if she passed away, I would probably do something like that. But
yeah, but it's okay because you don't really need all the hassles of the problems that come with all the things of living on the land. There's a lot of there that you could, it's just hassles that you deal with, part of the life, right? The lifestyle, but you could still live in town and go out in the wilderness like what you're doing and enjoy nature, you know what I mean? And you get a benefit out of it. You could still go to community gardens or go just to farmers markets and get the right food and support those people who do live on the land.
Yeah. I went to the farmers market last weekend.
Yeah. Oh, we don't even farmers market. We don't even see that for another 2 months.
Yeah, I guess so. It's still frozen. Fuck. No, I already picking. I got some chives out of my garden last night. I see my couple of my beet plants are just nice and huge. I didn't even plant that beet plant. I don't even know how it got there. It's just this beautiful green beet top. So I'm gonna cut that for dinner, I think, tonight.
Yeah, I like the beet tops. When I have a beet plant, I just eat the tops like salad.
Yeah, these are weird beets. They're just like long tubers. They're not like bulbous or anything. They're just almost like carrot looking things, but they grow beautiful greens. Beautiful greens.
What they do is when they like at the fall, they'll be bulbous, but at this stage they'll be like long like a carrot, and then they'll go back to like a bulb during the fall.
Yeah,
I think they'll store their energy.
Like 3 or 4 years old now. It just keeps growing. So I don't know.
That's a perennial. That's what I mean. You plant it once and it just keeps coming back and giving you some food, right?
Yeah, my rhubarb too. I can't believe that was totally gone. There was nothing even showing in the soil, and now there's like 20 or 30 leaves coming out of the ground. So it's kind of cool. I like this time of year watching shit come back.
You're teasing me. My God.
Pretty soon it'll be too hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. So what's your plans for like the future of your camping trips there?
Well, I don't know, man. I got some medical stuff coming up and I'm not really sure. So I do have a plan for next weekend. I met another YouTuber and he came over to my house the other night and we had a good conversation, and we're going to do a collaboration next weekend. So he's a hot tent guy. He's got a little wood stove and and it's kind of neat. I've never done any of that, so I go
Okay.
out and try that on the weekend. Yeah, he's not really a bushcrafter, but
Yeah.
just a camper.
Like I see a solution for a lot of the people right now that have a problem with, you cannot buy a house affordably, right? Like there's all the young people are faced with this thing, like, we're supposed to have this great freedom in Canada, but we can't even afford a house, And
For
the
sure.
problem is like the cities, the way they manufactured the cities, like that they designed it, is that everything was built to be inefficient and costly and to rely on services forever. Everything is like the opposite of permaculture, how it's supposed to work. Which, when I say permaculture, I mean like natural systems, and figuring out how natural systems work, and you work within the parameters of the principles of nature, right? And in cities, everything is like designed to break down. And like, give it 50 years, the cities that we know of today will have to be abandoned pretty much, because there will be so much concrete that will be needed to be replaced that there won't be worth to take out the concrete, to remove it. And it'll be easier to just abandon the city and start over from new.
Start in a new spot. There's a spot close by here. It's the Franklin River logging camp, and it used to be the biggest logging camp in the world. There was 3,000 men that worked there in the 70s and 60s and 70s, and like it was a whole town. It was it was there was married quarters, there was churches, there was like swimming pool, there was it was a whole mill company camp, logging camp. You go to it now and you can still see where the swimming pool was. Like you can see the tiles where the hot tub was and that kind of thing, but it's just gone. It's like trees growing now. It was a whole city. Like even when I was in, I remember 18, 19 years old, I would go out there to work. I worked out there, and it was like a marshalling yard. There was hundreds of logging trucks. There was pickup trucks everywhere. It was like a busy place, and it's just gone. There's nothing. It's just, and it's all old cement. That's all that's left.
Yeah,
Takes over fast.
you see, like a lot of the development happened in a period of 50 years, and when they built this, they weren't like exactly putting in the best concrete, and they weren't filling in the best stuff into the holes. Like they were putting garbage fill in there, and like I've noticed that the whole city, like, is like where I live, is built on garbage. Like it's just like, it's not a good foundation, because there was a lot of rock. So they had to deal with it by like making flat areas, and they just filled it in with whatever they could find, right? And what happens is they built cement foundations on top of that. And now I go around, I see cracks in cement everywhere. Like it's fine now, but some of these places are on slopes, okay? And it's just a matter of time, after another 50 years, that there's going to be so much needing repair of concrete, okay, that there won't, like, it will be in 50 years so expensive for that concrete that it won't be worth to do it. Okay, that's just basically what's going to happen, and we're going to have to go back to gravel roads and to things that make sense again. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't even know if we can even gravel. Like, do you know that on the northern Vancouver Island, when you're driving along the highway, there's a great big conveyor belt system, and if you look in that conveyor belt, it's gravel. And what they're doing is they literally have this gravel mine, and they got a conveyor belt that goes all the way down to the ocean, and there's a big freighter sitting there, and they just fill this freighter with gravel, and they just send it to China, because it's what do they call it for the concrete? It's a proper type of gravel. And I was like, what the fuck? They sending boatloads of gravel to China? It's like, holy, that must be expensive.
Oh yeah, mountains at a time.
Yeah, mountains, literally mountains of
mountains work. Yeah. Okay, you want that mountain? Okay, we'll grind you up that mountain, send it over. Okay. Yeah. Like it's got to that. Here we're specialists. Where I live, there is, we grind rock like it's nobody's business, man. Like some of the best rock grinding in the world is going on right here. Okay, and you wouldn't believe. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the mountains they've removed. Like they turned mountains into giant holes. Okay, and then one of them is very, very close to me. What's that?
It's on the Canadian Shield.
Oh yes, we are on the Canadian Shield. Yeah, there's endless rock though. That's one thing we have to export. They probably send the rock from here to China, for crying out loud. But I heard like the future, the gravel will be a very big business and it'll be very expensive because we're running out of good places to pick out gravel. They used to be a natural gravel pits, but now they have to grind the rock to make the gravel. And it's going to rise, like with the price of fuel going up and everything. It's going to rise the price of gravel. It's going to just the price of gravel. It determines so much of the foundation that the house is built on, right? And
for sure.
Like at this point, like one of my friends, he had to build a house, and just the gravel for his what is it, the toilet thing there, the septic tank. He had to put $50,000 of gravel just to put in a septic tank.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah. I was like, that was to make it the code.
Imagine the infrastructure costs of like building a highway. Like, oh god, you know, the gravel that goes into a highway or even asphalt. It's just so huge that people can't even imagine what the.
Yeah, well, give it that. Okay, you got a house that's you know, you paid probably 300,000 20 years ago. Now it's $1.5 million. And if you want to keep that investment, you got to spend $1 million of repair. You know what I mean? And you're gonna, it's gonna set people back like so far. And this is gonna happen to so many houses all at the same time. It's already there because they built so many crappy homes. Like in the old days, they built good homes, but I'm talking about from like the 80s on, they started cheaping out. Okay.
Yeah.
And they started figuring out ways, okay, well, smaller 2x4, smaller this, smaller that. And it's just a matter of time till there's like so many homes that are just going to be decrepit. There won't even be, even if the house is good, the foundations are going to fall apart. Like, especially when you got northern climate here, like you got the thaw, and you don't see this thaw because where you are, but everything lifts and from 6 inches to a foot where there's clay here. Okay. And then it drops. So, like if you have a driveway that's an asphalt driveway, good luck, you know.
Right. Yeah, just falls apart.
Yeah, nobody could keep an asphalt driveway more than 5 years here. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I noticed, like in our area, it was high humidity and then really high summer temperatures, but vinyl siding is super common, and it's just destroys houses, man. It's just, I don't know. I see the mold on people's decks and around their windows and stuff. It's just like, oh man, that house needs to breathe.
Yeah,
like our house was built in the 40s, and in the 40s, furnace oil was like basically free, so they would just run the furnace all day long, and who cares if some heat got out? It kept the house dry. Like, it's all fir, old growth fir timbers, and it would keep the house dry. But now it's not sealed, so you're losing your heat all the time. But that's houses today,
like
you see them
the
like
standard.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the standard construction, like there's good things about the materials, like the plastics and stuff like that, but like you say, if it's not breathing, you're just creating a mold problem, like over the long term. Like you might even think that it's totally 100% built to code and must be okay. It doesn't mean nothing. Okay, when it comes to mold, you know, it will find itself wherever. This drywall and all these materials they build, like such crappy homes. I think the people that make code really don't.
Well, I remember when I was working in construction, I was inside this house, and it was like we were doing the exterior, but we were inside of it. He had his insulation inspection done, and so all the vapor barriers airtight, insulation's beautiful. After the inspector left, the contractor came along with his razor knife and just sliced open every between every stud. And in 2 hours, there was probably 3 inches of water on the floor inside. It had all run out of the wall. Just that was the sunny wall, and sunny on the other side, but the condensation was just sitting inside the wall, and I couldn't believe how much water was in that wall.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, the old cabins, there's cabins that have been standing for 600 years, and they're still standing right now. Log cabins. Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, they're not perfectly insulated or anything, but it's that little bit of air that passes through that makes it not have mold, right?
Yeah.
It's like our place, right? Like our place, we don't have mold like in the main area, but it is in the attic because the attic doesn't breathe, but the rest of the cabin breathes, so we don't get it down here.
But we're fixing up the attic so it breathes a bit better. Because once you add insulation in the attic, you're cutting out the breathing. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
much
I mean
wood
that's
was
the. But you guys got a great wood heater, I bet. So it probably
Mhm.
doesn't matter if your heat gets.
It dries out fast. Yeah. It's just when on the cold days, if you have a surface that's very cold on one side and you're hot on this side of the surface, it builds up moisture. It just
Yeah,
is.
ice.
Yeah. Hot, cold, it doesn't like that a wall. It needs, see, a cement wall is the perfect wall in a way because like it absorbs moisture, it breathes, it doesn't have mold on it. It's a good
Yeah,
system. A clay wall even, you know what I mean? A
yeah.
plaster,
Something not
you know.
non-organic. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Morris Kachansky, we've talked a little bit about him.
Yes.
What do you what did you get from him? If for those that
Well,
don't know, Morris Kachansky's the godfather
more,
of bushcraft.
yeah, Morris Bushcraft, he was a professor for like over maybe 25 years or something at University of Alberta. He is a genius in knowing and studying the boreal forest. Okay, not only does he have incredible actual skills of building things with natural materials, but he knows every single plant in the boreal forest and the purpose, like the native purpose or whatever purpose that was there for that plant. And he taught me things like, I mean, just reading in that book that um, I couldn't even believe, like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? It just shocked me. Basically, that you could make your own cordage, you could make everything. You could survive on 3 tools. That is the axe, the knife, and the pot. Okay, a metal pot. Okay, those are the
Yeah.
3 tools that he could do. With those 3 tools, he could make every other tool that he needs. Okay, to survive in the forest. So I seen him fabricate a chair from firewood in a matter of 15 minutes from pieces of firewood. Right, like, and it was stable, like a chair that locked into itself, like just by
Yeah.
notches and little tricks and stuff like that.
I
Yeah.
remember I was watching a video and it was this other guy and he's like, yeah, I was out camping with Morris. He was on a course or whatever. And like everybody's got to build their shelter. So he's like, I was cutting all these beautiful pieces. I had the most beautiful shelter all built. And Morris Kachansky, he just had a pile of branches and a piece of plastic over top, and he was perfectly fine. He didn't have any firewood piles or anything. And I'm like, oh, what are you gonna do for firewood? He's like, oh, I'm just gonna burn my shelter. I don't need it in the morning. So
Yeah.
he just sat there all night long burning his shelter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I never heard that story. Yeah, he like actually
That's
there's
very energy efficient, actually, doing it that way instead of building
yeah.
a beautiful shelter.
I mean, I studied after, like I told you about the story. I got lost, and then I got out, and I studied all these guys, the best survival guys, and I found out which were the bullshit guys, which were the real guys. One guy I came across was Cody Lundeen, and he had a TV show, and he was like the barefoot guy, survival guy, and he was like a little crazy there. He's more of a desert survivalist, but they had him out in the winter and all this stuff. And when I studied that guy, he actually like. I said, like, who is he studying from? And who's this guy studying from? And all these guys studied from the same guy, which they all said at the end of the day is they give all their credit to Morris Kochanski because that's where they
100%.
learned their bushcraft skill.
I would say like he's probably the biggest influence on when I started reading about Morris. Like I just got right into it. I watched every single one of his what do they call that, the little pots, little stove company or something. I don't know. He's got a couple of different YouTube channels, and they're kind of dry videos. They're not like perfect videos or anything, but man, they're just full of stuff. Like
That's the
just
thing. Yeah. It's not the dry. It's dry in a way because it's all like, these techniques that are like, you wouldn't be able to take appreciation of it on the surface until you're really trying to learn survival skills. And then you learn it from him. And then it's like, wow, okay, now I know what to do.
do you see their water boiling contest they have? They're like, well, who can boil a liter of water the fastest? And then they like, they all start with nothing and they got to get tinder going. They got to get a fire going. And like, he'll have like a pot of water boiling in like 4 minutes or something stupid like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Probably goes get sap and fucking lights that on fire.
Yeah. I also, I really learned a lot about the knife skills from him, like with the tri sticks and the notching, and those are
Yeah.
skills that I think are important to teach kids.
Every
Safe handling of.
yeah, every child should learn that. Every child should learn how to use an axe properly.
Yeah.
So that when you're an adult, okay, like, and you have to, you know, sometimes do it, and it's not a common thing you do. At least when you do it, you'll do it safely.
Yeah. I mean, I take it for granted because I grew up, you know, cutting. I was in charge of splitting the kindling and bringing in the wood and all that as a kid, and we cut firewood after school and whatnot for extra money, and so I just kind of always used an axe. And then when I was a teenager, I was a splitter for a shake block cutter, you know. So I've always had an axe in my hand ever since I was a kid, and I take that for granted. And I see other
Yeah.
people, it's awkward for them to sometimes, like, you know, like, why don't you just hit it right? You know, I watched my buddy try to
Yeah.
split this piece the other day. I'm like, why don't you just hit it in the right spot? Like, you're not even the block's not even facing the right way. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well,
You
when
know?
you got a big knot and you're trying to smash a knot constantly, well, like,
Yeah.
you got to try something else. Okay. Like, flip it the other way, maybe, or, you know, take a sledgehammer and get it in there one time, and then get the sledgehammer behind and just finish it off. Because
Finish it off.
why work harder? Why do you work against yourself? Who are you trying to prove? Okay. Like, if you're trying to prove yourself something, like, prove yourself at least that you're able to do it safely.
Man, I see so many fire pits with like half burned wood in them. Like, you come along, you can see somebody tried real hard to have a fire, but they couldn't have a fire. It was like, you know, there's like little black scorching on the
Oh,
creating
yeah.
all their wood, you know. So I just take those skills for granted, and you know, that's one of my things I really want to try and work on, is sharing some of that knowledge, and, you know, not in a like a professional manner, but just like, you know, these are things. So I'm arranging a skill builder weekend that's coming up, um,
Oh,
on Easter weekend, and get some people out. We're gonna try some bow drilling, have some gear displays, maybe a little pew pew action. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah.
So
You know what? I had a vision of you like teaching young men these skills, like, or like father and son type of, or mother and son, or whatever, daughter, type of family event where you could have like a few people over, and you can go over like the 20 most like important skills to learn in the wilderness or something like that.
well, I used to be really involved with the caving community, and we would do like a annual family day, you know, like in February or whatever, like a family trip, and I would get 30, 40 people come out with their kids, like including their kids, and it was so much fun, you know, because it
You know
just
what? Families are
took
looking for
this.
that. Like,
I know, but
families
it
are
was so
looking for that.
great. It was
You know,
great being around the kids. Like, it wasn't a
yeah.
problem. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
We need more of that. Like, we need like family events and stuff like that. That's where it all starts off. Like, if we want to regain our sovereignty and regain our rights and stuff like that, we have to start collectivizing together, and you know, having events to like not just come together to drink a bunch of beer, but it's going to be coming together. We're gonna learn things. You know what I mean? We're gonna do things. We're gonna,
Yeah.
you know,
Have some community too. Like, I mean, I think
yeah.
that's a skill that we've lost, is having community, is like learning how to be a community. You know, getting together and just cooking a meal, having a
Well,
potluck, you know,
you
sitting around
say
the
that.
fire laughing.
You say that, like, I keep asking myself, what's the answer to the problems we're facing right now? And I keep going in circles and trying to figure this out. And what you just said is the answer to the thing is,
Yeah.
we got to learn it. The biggest problem we have is that we don't know how to build community. And like, to be honest, like, even, you know, I used to have this idea that if I could just grow my own food, you know, I'll have my freedom, you know, and if I could only do this, I'll have my freedom. And it was always like a little bit of a fallacy that I made myself believe. But, you know, thankfully I had a lot of piss and vinegar. I did it anyway. But what I came to learn at the end of it was, now the thing that it won't be worth anything if we can't learn how to build community first, because that's what's going to make it possible for us to have a future where my children, no matter what happens, they'll have a community there for them that they can rely on. And you know what I mean? Have their, that'll be their security. That's the security of the community, the trust of the community, that, you know, we're looking after one another. That means more to me than some government that is going to be there in the future to take care of my children. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even look at Twitter right now. It's just it's so much politics on there, and I'm so worn out by it all. And I was talking to my wife about it this morning. It's like, man, I just don't even. I don't even know. I think the only thing I can do is just worry about what's right in front of me right now, and
Yeah. Well,
like,
that's it. What it comes down to. At the end of the day, you can't fix all the problems in the world, but you got to be able to start fixing what you can fix and what you do have control over. And if we all did a little bit of that, it would be a very, very different situation we'd be in right now. Much better situation.
yeah, I know. It's difficult though. Recently I've kind of taken on into another like there's a bunch of UK bushcrafters, and they got a community set up, and I'm just seeing like, oh, this is great. I really want this to be something that happens around here in Canada, or even in my end of Canada, where like I don't understand why that's not already in place. It's not in place because nobody's done it, I guess, or maybe maybe I'm oblivious to it. I don't know, but
Well, I've been
I really
studying
want
it
to
for a
work on that.
while. I've been learning about how these communities form and how they work and stuff for a long, long time now. And I can tell you this is that about 90% of all communities that came together to create like a self-sustaining community all failed. Okay. And
Yeah.
there's a huge problem with alignment and how to come together to organize the legal framework. Okay. Because they kind of skip that part until they're 2 feet into a problem and they now need to deal with the problem. And it's like, you know what I mean? Whatever it might be. There was no legal framework around how they're going to create the community, how it was going to organize or anything. They just had a lot of dreams and fantasies about, we're going to have goats and we're going to, have this beautiful little tiny place and we're going to be on the land. It's very nice to think about all those things, but you got to think about how you're going to deal with the real practical problems that are going to come along the way. And like, you got to put some rules in place up front so that you know how you're going to deal with those problems.
Yeah, have like a rule set up. And I mean, that's the problem, is that anytime you have humans involved in anything, there's going to be an issue, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
like especially with these common properties that people try to start, I can't imagine that. Like, I always hear people say, oh, we should buy some land and all move into this, and I'm thinking, yeah, right, because in 2 weeks you're gonna bang
Well,
somebody
this is
else's
where
wife or something like this.
This is why I'm stipulating the legal framework, because you see, there's the issue with the common areas and the private areas. Okay. And how do you separate the balance between what's best for the individual compared to what's best for the group, right? So if you're going to live as a group in a community in an area and work the land, you're going to be faced with like problem after problem after problem after problem. So you got to know how you're going to deal with this together. Like, you're actually organizing yourself to ahead of time to say, okay, this is how, this is the boundary here. This is where your privacy, this is your space, and nobody walks on your space. And then without your permission, right? You got to be able to claim what is your own space there. And then you have what is the common area. You know what I mean? Okay, that there is, everybody could use. You know what I mean? And once you distinguish that, that's a very good start there. That's like, okay, that avoids a lot of conflict. Another thing is like rules. Like, see, when you start off in these communities, you all want this freedom, but what happens is if you don't organize your own, like, you regulate yourself, you are going to end up with chaos, and then it all falls apart. So you got to figure out, like, how are you going to deal with like dogs that are roaming around, you know what I mean, that people aren't taking care of, or what if this problem, or people drop off a bunch of garbage, who's going to pick that up, who's going to take responsibility for that? What if a fire happens and it's like it's going through the property and it's going to burn everybody down? Like, how do you take precautions for this, or whatever, right?
What if one of the people that live in there are the fire risk? Like, you can see the problems
Yeah.
they're having, or there's
Yeah.
rats
What if
coming out of
there's
their
a fire
house or
risk?
something, right?
How do we get collectively as a group come together, and we don't invade on that person's private space, but we communicate the message that something has to be done, but we're willing to help. Like, we'll pay for the wood stove or whatever they need, or, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going in there just to push them around and tell them what they're going to get out of here if they don't do what we tell them. You know what I mean?
So I was thinking about something, and I saw it earlier, and because Leaf Nurse just made me think of it, actually, was our friend Tom being without power, and he was talking about a cell phone being completely discharged. And I just want to reiterate on this little item that I picked up, actually my wife picked them up off Amazon. They're nothing too fancy, but this hand crank, you know, it's a hand generator. You know, you can plug a USB cord into it, and
I like that.
I completely discharged it. So I left the flashlight on for, it took like 12 or 13 hours or something to completely discharge. I gave it 100 cranks. And with 100 cranks, I was able to plug my phone into it, and it illuminated the charge. I didn't let it charge. I don't know how long it
Yeah.
would have charged, but that's only 100 cranks. Imagine if you needed something, you know, like your vape dies or your phone dies or your
Hey,
GPS or whatever. Yeah.
hey,
Just having that 22
hey,
bucks on
Jason,
Amazon.
imagine if you had a stream, okay, and you had a bicycle wheel that was turning
I
on
already
that
thought,
stream,
I already thought about
connected to
that,
that
right?
thing. Yeah, exactly. Because keeps turning that thing all day long.
We had a cabin. Our club had a cabin that we built on for a rec site BC, and it had a Pelton wheel on it, and it had a 3-inch water line coming down the mountain, probably about 200 or 300 meters of elevation drop. And that bloody Pelton wheel, man, let me tell you, that thing was unbelievable how fast that would spin that alternator. And yeah, he had full electricity, man. But these kids there was these kids that were involved in it. They knew how to wire it all up. But I couldn't believe just off that one water line how much electricity they were able to make.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. And you should hear it. So you get there, and I turn it on. So you open this valve, and you open this valve, and then it fires up, and you just hear it start spinning. It's like, holy shit, that thing's like probably 50,000 RPM or something. It's just
You know
going like
what?
crazy.
I'd love to see that,
What
dude.
is
I'd
it?
love to see that.
Oh, I don't know if I had a video of it. I don't know if I still do. Let me look here.
That is amazing.
But yeah, that Pelton wheels, man. I've always
Makes me
mimicking
think.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm just looking for it. I don't know. I don't know where it is. Oh, can't find it. Yeah. So the Pelton wheel, yeah. So basically, what it is, it's just like an enclosed wheel, and it's connected to like basically a 12-volt alternator, and the water can only go through. It's like it's pressurized in, and it's pretty impressive, man.
Huh.
She ordered one of these radios. Yeah, good. I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't listen to AM FM really, but there is a weather band on there. So you got weather right on
I
demand.
like that.
Yeah, and you got marine weather and the national weather forecast on 162.55. Yeah, megahertz. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said to my wife, if you needed to make a phone call or walk 10 miles home, what would it be? You know, you had a dead phone.
You know, if I lived where you are, I wouldn't have a farm either, because I think I would just be so interested in exploring everything that there is out there that I would never be at home.
You can't well, I mean, you could, there is property. There's lots of people that have property. I mean, when I was a kid, we had property, and I should have, you know, in hindsight, I wish I would have lived my life differently, but I didn't, and you know, but I don't know. Like I said,
Oh, well, good.
if my wife was to pass, and it was just me, I would probably leave the island. I'd probably go to Alberta.
Oh yeah, yeah. Alberta's nice.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one day maybe Alberta's an option.
Yeah, well, it might not be part of our country much longer. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, that's probably the reason why I'd go there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too.
Hey, if
But
there's gonna be,
I
want to be where the
wife
money is, man. Where the money's flowing.
Yeah. Well, I want to be where they're not putting dissidents in jail.
Yeah, exactly. That too. That too, especially. Yeah. No, it's just you know, like it seems that like economically things are just getting more and more difficult here where I am, and I don't see like a future like as it is now. Like,
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's really hard. It's hard to stay focused on positive things when there's so much cloud around right now. You know, like everything's cloudy. So find it difficult at times to, like, I just have to really separate myself from social media sometimes, because it's just like, it's just too much.
oh yeah, same here. Same here. I can only handle so much. And
go out in the bush and cut some sticks or build a fire
Yeah.
or something. That's what I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about
exactly.
fire, man. Oh, the bow drill fires. God, have you been doing any bow drilling?
I've done some bow drilling. I've done like what I did is enough bow drilling to get the fire going and like to get that amber, and then
Mhm.
I just left it to that because I was just learning it indoors, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then from there, I learned the skill how to take an amber from a wood stove and how to start my whole fire just from an amber, right?
Mhm.
So like how to collect the little sticks and all the little things, just like you normally would or whatever in the bush. But sometimes it's other materials, and
Yep.
you just like if you could start it from an amber, you're good to go. That's the hardest part. And on a humid day, it's very very difficult from just an amber to start a fire.
Not only is it difficult, it is so freaking rewarding when you finally do, that little,
When you do, yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
live after all.
that skill is so important because like in the old days, like they would have a person generally like in a nomad civilization, they would carry the fire and you would have one designated person for that, right? And
Mhm.
you would take a certain type of mushroom, then you would take a coal of a type of either a very difficult, like really really dense hardwood, or what would be a chaga. Like I'm not sure if you know what a chaga is, but it's
Yep.
like a
Yep,
dense
for sure.
it's like a conch mushroom that if
Mhm.
you dry that out and you light that thing up, it stays lit for a very, very, very long time. Okay. And
Like
you could
days.
just, yeah, you simply like can blow on it a little bit and keep it going again. Okay. And then you could put it back into your pouch with inside this special mushroom. And there's another mushroom. I forgot the name off the top of my head there, but I have, anyway, you would put it that the mushroom's like a fireproof mushroom. That's basically
Mhm.
where you put your little amber in so it doesn't burn your pouch. And then you every once in a while keep blowing on it. And then you would carry your fire distances like whatever you wanted, right?
Do you do much wild foraging? I mean, I think your wife does, but how about you?
Well, I have a like a long history of picking wild blueberries.
You
Okay,
taught me.
that it goes back to when I was like 7 years old, and
Mhm.
like by the time I was 10, my parents had me every summer picking blueberries like a slave. Okay, but I didn't know anything different at the time. I thought it was just like what every kid did, right? And
Right.
before you know it, I was like, "Hey, go back to school. There, you guys didn't pick blueberries all fucking summer."
Yep.
Fuck, that's all I've been doing. But we have lots of wild blueberries in mining. It's like a mining town where everything got destroyed, right? So on the return back, like there was like of the nature. Let's just say the blueberries came back first, and they were strong for many many years, and they still are in some areas. And like I still pick them today. Okay, but
Yeah.
not the
They're
way
delicious.
like when it's nothing like when I was a child. Like when I was a child, it was ridiculous amount of blueberries, and we would be at it all day, like all summer long, every day, rain or shine, doesn't matter.
What did you
If we
do with
couldn't
them?
sell the blueberries, we'd eat them. What's
Yeah.
that?
You didn't freeze them or anything?
We froze more blueberries than we ever needed because sometimes our
Yeah.
blueberries would go bad because they get wet or whatever from the rain or
Yeah.
whatever. So we'd have to keep those ones, right? So
Yeah.
there was days like that. But my parents like
Mhm.
they needed that money from the blueberry money. We'd sell those blueberries, and I'd be the one selling them on the side of the road. They'd throw me on the side of the road of a highway with a sign and blueberries, and here you go. We'll come and pick you up in a few hours there. And there I
We
was.
actually saw boys
Yeah.
doing that in the little town over. Remember last
Yeah,
summer? We
yeah,
saw three boys.
exactly.
Three boys all in nice plaid tucked in shirts with their Wranglers on and their belts on with the belt buckle and everything. Three brothers that are selling blueberries. I was like, wow, we gotta drop my son off with those kids there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
But it taught me like see from being like out in the bush, we'd walk in an hour in and an hour out. Well, sometimes 2 hours out because the blueberries were heavy. But
Yep.
it was making you like dehydrated, dried out, hungry. You had to deal with all these things that you deal with in nature, right? And it taught me how to deal with those things at a young age. You know.
How to deal with diarrhea after eating 10 pounds of blueberries.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what's funny is if you eat your blueberries gradually, like you'll never have diarrhea. It's only when you eat it like a tremendous amount in a pie or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. Cherries, they got to be the worst. Like, find a nice ripe cherry tree and just make a pig of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you gotta like not go excessive. You know what I mean?
What about mushrooms? Do you do any mushroom harvesting?
Where I am, there's not enough of a good forest for what is edible mushrooms, but I have what is medicinal mushrooms, and I'm a very, very big person on chaga mushrooms. Like I learned about chaga from Worcester originally a long time ago, and I was trying to explain it to people, and no, it was nothing on YouTube about it, and nothing. And eventually, it came out on YouTube, and it exploded. Okay, and then everybody knew about chaga mushrooms, and now. Like that's the only one, and I go back to it all the time. Like it saved my ass, like literally that mushroom. Like sometimes my arm from excessive overworking like would be out of commission for like a month, and I was like, what do? I got to go back to work here, and my arm's not working. And I would take chaga, and after 3 days, my arm was back to like perfect.
Oh yeah.
And my back, the same thing sometimes. It would just restore my back. Like pain that I had in my back was just gone all of a sudden. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I'm never letting go of this mushroom.
Wow. What about lion's mane?
Lion's mane is very difficult to find here, but I've eaten some and I love it. And it's just a fantastic thing. But you need like good oak trees, elm trees. The big pines, sometimes I think they grow on them too.
Like west of here.
Yeah. But wherever there's like, see, I'm in a devastated area. Like it's just like coming back. It's just like poplar trees and birch trees and spruce trees. But north from here, like we have old growth forests. Like we have one of the only red pine old growth forests in Canada, or the largest one, if at that. And it's like pristine. It's like a whole different world there. Like you just drive 50 kilometers from here, and it's like the kind of bush you're walking in.
Yeah, that's nice. That virgin forest.
Yeah. Very similar to what, and blue water. There's a place called Blue Lagoon or something like that there. Wolf Lake. It's beautiful, beautiful place. Just unbelievable. Doesn't fit at all in with anything around here. It just located where the mining didn't damage it.
Right on. What about I mean, I always envy you guys have so much birch out there. Do you ever do any bushcrafting with the birch or with any of the hardwoods you have?
Well, I in the exercise of working in the bush and collecting my own firewood and doing other business for other people would do with firewood, I learned to experiment with every single tree that I could come across. And birch is very, very special. There's so many things you could do with birch, and you could make like a concoction with it, like it's like a tar, with the birch paper. And it could be used medicinally. It could be used for like to make canoes, like to seal the canoe and stuff like that. There's many applications. Also, there's birch syrup that you could collect. And I'll tell you something about birch is that it's very hard to find them, and you got to know where to look to find a good, like strong birch tree, a stand of them where they're big. And they're usually on private property or next to waterways.
I didn't know that. I thought they were everywhere out there.
No, they like the moisture. And there's something that happens with birch trees is if you get a hot summer, it might kill all the birch trees because they run out. Like they get the water at a certain time of year for a certain amount of years, and then they get a dry summer, and all of a sudden all the birch trees are dying in a certain area.
They're too big for their own good. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a long lifespan, and they have to find themselves in the exact stable area where they'll get consistent water for 100 years, right?
I didn't know that. We don't. I mean, we have ornamental birches around, and I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild though. But we have yeah. Well, not on Vancouver Island. I've seen them in the wild, but it's not here.
Your soil is too rich to grow birch. It has other things that would overtake the birch. It would never have a chance.
Yeah. I think that's basically what it is we have like cedar and hemlock here. They're the main. Well, I mean, it starts off with the deciduous, like it'll start off with the alder and the maples, but they get outgrown really quickly by the evergreens. And then those evergreens usually get root rot because it's so moist, and then they'll start falling down or they get blown over. and that's usually when the firs, like our actual mature forest, is typically Douglas fir here. So, you're looking at a forest that hasn't probably been touched in at least 3 or 4 or 500 years, right?
Huh.
It's kind of cool. There's this one spot on the west coast, and there was I think it was in 1830. There was a giant tidal wave or tsunami, and you're walking through the forest, and all of a sudden there's just this wall of sand, right? And it's all flat, and then all of a sudden there's just this mountain of sand, and there's giant trees on it. There's trees on it that are 2-3 feet in diameter, and you walk way up this hill and then down the other side, and it's flat again. It's like, so it's just this berm in the middle of the forest, and it's it's several hundred feet high. But that's
Wow.
that was the sand. That was the sand from the tsunami. When the tsunami hit the coast, it pushed all that sand. It's 300-400 feet into the forest. But I was always thinking, if you were able to dig into that hole, into that berm, imagine the wood you might find in there. Like, if it's still good, I don't know. But
Interesting.
you think of some of the old wood you'd find. I bet you there's huge logs. Like, the whole thing's probably half full of wood.
You ever gold pan?
Yeah, I've done a little bit. It's not my favorite thing.
No, I've done a little bit. I got to know what I'm dealing with is, something there. Sometimes I like exploring a little bit, right? Just go around, like, just shake it around a bit. Not like really seriously trying to get anything. I'm just like looking at the rocks and the things that are there and trying to make an assessment of the kind of minerals that are in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's good skill to learn and to teach children how to grab a gold pan and how to dig a little hole there and how to sort that out. Okay.
That's funny you say that, because the last time I did pan was with my youngest daughter. And my buddy had a couple bags of pay dirt and that he bought, and we were just sitting around the campsite with a bucket of water, and she was having a blast. Like, there's tiny little specks of gold in there, but in there with the tweezers, and she had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a good activity. It's like the kind of healthy activities that we could be doing, that instead of just sitting there on freaking tablets all day long or whatever,
Yeah. It's hard to criticize them when we're doing the same thing, though.
Yeah, but there's a healthy way to use the technology, and then there's an unhealthy way, and you got to know where the boundaries are at and to use them, you know what I mean, to help us instead of hurt us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Mike. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, finish off. I have another topic I want to ask you.
But this thing I do, I wish I could just leave it at home. I wish I'm so dependent on it all the time. It's always, checking my phone, looking at my, analytics or something. And it's just like, there's so much better stuff to be doing.
Yeah. My goal is to get rid of my phone and not need it anymore. I started by not answering the phone. And just, if you want to get a hold of me, you have to have a text. Unless I see your number on there.
Too, man. Yeah.
If I see your number, I don't. Maybe I'll answer.
I have my ringer off. I have my ringer off all the time. I never have it on. My wife's like, "Well, what if somebody phones?" I'm like, "Well, what if somebody phones? I guess they'll phone."
What did they do in the old day? You'd walk up to your phone, and if it rang, you were there. You would answer it. If you weren't home, you didn't answer it. That's the way it was. Like, why can't we go back to that?
Yeah, I agree, man. Man.
Oh my
God!
What was your other? I had a question. Is do they do the moss business still in BC? You ever heard of that?
Sell it?
No, like my uncle, he used to be in BC, and he would go around all kinds of places and collect moss. Have you ever heard of that?
Like, for what? For flower arrangements and stuff?
Yeah, for nurseries.
Oh yeah. Well, I know there's I imagine there would be, because there's I think they're Vietnamese, and you'll run into them in the woods sometimes, and they'll come out and they'll have fucking huge just bundles of it on their back, like all tied in, and then you'll see where they were harvesting. You'll just see it pretty much just rapes the forest. But
yeah, I know. I don't like the raping of the forest concept of it, but there's probably an economical way to get it and not harm the forest, especially if say there's a construction project, go harvest all the moss there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before you destroy it, because that moss is valuable.
Yeah, well, they have salal too, so it's a ground plant, and they'll cut all of it. And same as cedar boughs too. Like around Christmas time, people want to make Christmas wreaths, and they'll go and cut all the branches off the little cedar trees. And it's kind of kills the tree, probably. I mean,
No. That's good for the trees. A little bit of pruning of the tree here and there, and not killing the tree. That's it strengthens the tree.
yeah, maybe.
That's how a moose goes in the bush and is like wrecking the trees, you'd think, right? But is actually doing a benefit. He's like creating like habitat for other animals sometimes, or he's just basically strengthening the tree, or he's helping the tree go into its next cycle of fruiting or whatever it is by putting that pressure on it.
Yeah.
I've heard
Kinda
of
like
deer
cutting-
doing that. Yeah.
Kind of like cutting cutting your tomatoes or whatever.
Yeah. You put sometimes a little bit of pressure makes the strength come out in the plant, right? And a deer will, like in the fall, will smash an apple tree that didn't produce because it'll hit it with its horns, and what it'll do is it'll create damage to the bark that will stimulate hormones that the next year it'll help produce more apples.
Have you ever done any of that grafting?
I played around with grafting many years ago. I had some success with it, but it's very time consuming, and it's at a very high level of the gardening. So you don't bother with that until you're at the really at a high production rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm about to try this year to like some propagating of apple trees, which is I'm going do some cuttings. I'm going to try again. I've had a lot of failure in the doing of it, only because I'm on an off-grid property and I have a hard time keeping a steady temperature.
Right.
And it goes up and down. So these little it's like little twigs that I'm trying to start, right? They don't take it if the temperature is constantly fluctuating.
For sure. I'm just looking at the comment here. It says, sphagnum moss is full of iodine and it can be used for treating wounds. Another thing that moss is really good at is cleaning your cast iron after you cook some bacon in it.
Oh yeah. You know what else
Doesn't
works for
scratch
that, Jason? Some sand. If you have sand, you put that in your greasy cast iron pot there, and bring it to the water and wash it with sand.
Yeah, that's what I do. I wouldn't use sand in my cast iron. I don't think though. I carry salt. Like I have a little bucket of salt. So usually I use like coarse. Coarse
for
salt.
the coarseness. Yeah.
But my all my cast iron's pretty well seasoned. So I don't know. Like I was just looking at my my little backpack skillet. It's got a bit of rust inside it, and like my wife would be like, "Oh, that's fucked. You can't eat out of that." No. I'll just eat right out of that. I don't care. Bacon will fix that.
Well, there's a way to temper that. You get it right hot there, and then you throw on some tallow and let it smoke for a bit, and you'll be okay. You'll have a nice tempered pan there. It won't rust for a long time.
Yeah, this one's just been in my.
Only wash your pan in greasy water. Only wash your pan.
It says only wash your pan in greasy water. I don't know about that one, but you could also. I never put soap to it, like hardly.
No, never.
To a cast iron.
I hate soap.
My pans never rusted. They're beautiful. This is what I do. I wait until it's the end of the dishes. And I put the fuckers in that dirty ass, greasy ass water and I scrub them. Okay. And then I take them over to a pot of boiling water that I have my wood stove and I dunk them in that fucking pot and gets all the grease off. And then I wipe them and put them on the wall and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Right?
Yeah.
Boiling water is amazing for cast iron. Like even if you got some stuck in there, a little bit of sausage skin or something, you just boil some water and swish it around. And usually I don't even like dish soap. My wife washes my coffee cup with it, and it'll be the first taste is always like, it just tastes like soap.
There's a time for soap. You know what it's for? Washing your hands. Okay, like I like it for that because my hands. I mean, it's got grease on it. You got to have something to help you get that grease off, right? That's the only thing. You disagree? Oh man,
I fucking hate soap, man. My wife's like, "Oh, you don't even," because I don't know. I just don't like the smell of soap.
If you work with vehicles and cars and stuff like that, you can't get that stuff off without soap.
No,
or
I use that
gasoline.
hand cleaner. That hand cleaner stuff is.
Yeah, the hand cleaner stuff. That's soap, dude.
Well, it's yeah, I know.
Detergent. It's the same
It
thing.
doesn't smell like my wife though, so it's okay.
Yeah. You're
put my
thinking when
jacket
you
on.
think soap.
I'm thinking perfume.
You're thinking perfume. Soap is a good thing. It's you want to have like be hygienic. You know what I mean? It's just that you don't need to put it all over yourself all the fucking time.
Well,
It's for the grease.
Yeah, it's the perfumes in the soap that I don't like. I mean, we have she has non-scented soap in the shower for me, and I'll use it for my private parts and whatnot. But yeah, I just don't like the perfume smell when I'm out in the woods. I used to, when I was working in the bush as a logger, people would come out and you could smell their laundry soap. They'd take their hat off and you could smell their shampoo. It's like, yeah, the bugs are all over you. That's why,
Yeah, I know.
Like
I've noticed this. I've noticed this. Some people come by for a visit, and it's like, I don't know why there's so many bugs around you, but oh yeah, you're from the city. Okay. Even dogs have like they come to the property or whatever, and they will be completely not be able to handle it. Okay, unless my dogs can handle it, no problem. But the bugs and the heat and everything, they just like they're not used to it.
What latitude are you at?
I'm in I don't know exactly my latitude, 48 degrees or whatever it is.
48. We're at 49 here.
Yeah, like it's like somewhere between like the freaking Arctic and the Southern Ontario.
So you get hot, very, very hot, very, very cold.
Yeah, exactly. We get minus 40s. Sometimes that'll be only like maybe 4 or 5 days out of the year. Sometimes I counted one year we had in the minus 30s, over 60 days in minus 30, and it tires you out so much. Okay, like you can't make enough firewood. You can't. It seems like doesn't matter what, the cold's creeping in and crawling and trying to get to you. Those are rare those winters, but it could happen. Generally. Like we will be getting a minus 10 to minus 20 most winter, and in the summertime we get temperatures here that are ridiculously hot. Like we get like 35 degrees days there, like quite a bit. Okay, so
we had a 46 last summer. Oh, fuck, it was hot.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous, dude.
You can't escape it, man. You can't. We don't have any air conditioning in our house. I don't really like air conditioning either. It's like soap. It's not necessary, but we don't have air conditioning. But I remember there's one day me and my wife were in the shower because we had all the windows, like towels over the windows, so no light could get in the bathroom, and just had the cold water running in the bathroom. We were just sitting on with our feet in the bathtub having cocktails. So hot.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I know the heat. You always underestimate it until you're 2 feet into it. There, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, Same with I don't do a lot of bush stuff when it's really hot because it's it's dangerous for one thing, and fire risk and stuff. But
you get smarter after a while.
Yeah, this is the time of year to be camping. I tell you, like right now when it's it's 10 degrees outside, it's not raining, it's beautiful. You can still see in the bush because the trees haven't grown back yet, or the shrubs and whatnot. So yeah, we'll be I was just saying to my wife this morning, April 1st today, so probably in the next couple of weeks I'll start getting back down to the river and start picking up some of those early spawning sockeye salmon that are going to be coming in. I'm really looking forward to that.
Wow.
It's favorite time of year, man. It's
so good. We have similar with trout here that come up, and we have places we can go fish and smells, yeah. But there is salmon here, but it's not like what you guys have. Like it's a fresh lake salmon. It's not fresh. It's like from the fresh lakes, but it's like salmon are not supposed to be in that lake. Like, but it is there, and they planted there. And the Great Lakes has been totally screwed over. Like, and it's not something like I look forward to eating fish out of the Great Lakes anymore because it's so polluted and everything.
Yeah, I guess you got to worry about that. For sure.
Yeah. Like they have like nuclear power plants and stuff and all kinds of shit next to the Great Lakes. Like it can't be good, man. Like especially down south. Like we're not on the bad side here. We're probably on the good side of the water. But like it's still like I just don't trust some of the lakes. Like not the Great Lakes, like the fish that comes out of it. Maybe the smaller lakes and stuff like that. No problem, as long as it's cold water fish, I'm good with it.
So this is I don't know if you can see this, but this is sockeye. That it's so red. The salmon
That's
is
amazing.
so deep.
That's what that there is real fish to me, man. That's amazing. Wow. I would eat
so
that, no problem.
Yeah. And look at it. It's funny that this picture's here because right at the bottom down here, there's a little crayfish hand right beside my fish. Oh no, that's a gut. That's a gill plate. Never mind. I thought it was a
Okay.
crayfish.
It looks like a crayfish.
Yeah, I did.
You smoke that meat or what?
Yeah, that's what that was prepared for, was for smoking. Being
Wow.
cut up like that. I'll smoke some. I'll vacuum pack some. You know, we can some. I'll try to catch. You know, if I'm out there every day and it runs for about almost 3 months. You know, so say I can do 60 days of fishing, I will catch 100 to 120 of them. You know, if I'm there every day.
Well, are you
working it.
serious?
You're allowed to?
Yeah.
You're allowed that? You're allowed to store that?
Yeah, you're allowed 2 per day. Once
Wow.
they're in your home, once they're in your home and processed, they're yours, right.
Not
You're
here.
allowed 2. Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean,
not in Ontario. Not in Ontario.
depends-
Everything in your freezer belongs to the government.
Well, it depends on the species. If you're talking about Chinook salmon, I think you're only
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah.
have 10
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
possession, and
Yeah. You
no wild steelhead.
How often do you get to eat pickerel?
Never.
Never, eh? I know. That's the thing you don't
We get
have
a
down
lot of
there.
pickerel.
We have pickerel, but you don't have pickerel.
We eat quite a bit,
No,
actually.
we have mackerel and that kind of thing, but no.
Pickerel is a big deal down here. That's like our equivalent to what you have there. Like,
Cream of the crop.
yeah, the
Yeah.
best.
No, I haven't. No, I'll do. I mean, there's 5 species of salmon that migrate onto the west from the Pacific here. There's the sockeye, which is what I just showed you. They come first. Then there's the chum salmon, which doesn't go very far up the river. They go into the estuaries. Very aggressive fish, but a very, very oily salmon. So they're really good for like either smoking or canning, but they're very oily. And then you get the coho. The coho in the springs that we call the Chinook springs. The coho in the springs are the big ones. The Chinook are the big ones. You can get them up to 50, 60 pounds. The coho are usually around 15 to 20 pounds, but they're all different meat. Like depends on what they eat. Like the Chinook and the coho tend to eat smaller fish, so their meat will be like paler, whereas the sockeye eat the plankton and the krill, so their meat's really red, really rich. But those springs that are really pale in the summer, if you catch them in the wintertime when they're feeding, they'll be really red. So the meat tastes so good. It's so healthy for you too, man. And you go to the grocery store and you're going to pay like $30-$40 for half of that fish. So to be able to go and just get them for free, I mean, it's a big part of my.
Yeah, you must have quite the smoker then, eh?
I got a couple, yeah. I just use a little electric Big Chiefs, yeah. And I got a 48 quart canner that I have. I got a big one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I didn't know you could get that many salmon. I'd be stocking up, man.
Well, I mean, you could buy them too. Like I have some Indian friends. They'll, if I couldn't fish much one year, and I bought 50 off them, but I was getting them for about $10 a piece. So he just comes up in the morning after he finishes fishing and drops them off, and then I, gut them or clean them up and throw them in the freezer. And when I got 10 in the freezer, I'll throw them in the brine and smoke them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's a process, but it's worth it. But it's getting more expensive. The fishing tackle is very expensive now. You go through a lot of hooks and a lot of one pack of hooks is like $20-$25 for 20 hooks. So
what?
Fishing in the river, you'll lose a lot. You'll snag up the bottom a lot, and you'll lose a lot of gear. So it's like a constant expense, but it's still cheaper than buying them.
Well, you're gonna have to take some footage of that stuff.
Yeah, I do. I tried to send some to a friend out east last year, and Canada Post wouldn't let me ship it. I had to use I had to use it like overnight, and the guy's like, "Ah, forget it." It was gonna be like $100 to send a fish to Ontario.
No. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make it very difficult.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? You've got anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, there's so many damn things I could go into, but I think we did good for today. There, we got quite a bit of time in there.
Yeah.
I'll just open the ground up. Maybe we could have another show sometime. You could have a more organized discussion or whatever. But
I don't mind doing this, where you kind of just freestyle and just sit down and talk, and it
I think
keeps
a lot
it more
of people like
authentic,
that.
right?
Yeah,
I think it's more
people like that. I think people enjoy the authenticity of it. Yeah, it's just off the fly, whatever's on top of my head.
I got the Canadian Taco coming on next week, and he's quite into bushcrafting too, and he's also a firearms enthusiast. So I imagine he'll talk a little bit about that. He's really into safety and gear and that kind of thing, so he'll be cool. Do you know Taco?
I don't know him, but I heard of him in the community.
Yeah, you know who he is. Okay. Yeah, well, he doesn't live too far from me, so I was talking to him last night and got
it'd
that
be nice to see some new
arranged.
people.
Yeah, I really like everybody's got a little nugget, and you never know where you're gonna find something, and this is so if any of the people in the chat here, I noticed there's a bunch of guys from the UK here. I'd really be interested in getting some more of you guys on. If any of you are interested, just shoot me a message. My email's in my details of my YouTube account. But yeah, thanks, Rogue. I think we'll shut it off then here, if that's all.
Okay, fantastic. I'm gonna have some supper or some dinner. All right, thank you very much already. Well, dinner, lunch, whatever. Lunch? Okay, is that what we call this one? Okay.
Right on.
In French, it's dîner. Okay, take care, buddy.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Bye-bye.
Right on. Bye. Go. Oh, take it off just put myself on full screen. Didn't want to do that. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and like I said, I'm going to be doing this again next week. I do have a guest arranged, and I think it'll be cool. He's a real gear nut, and I like talking to guys about their gear, especially when they're as passionate. And thanks to Rogue for coming in and chatting. Sorry we couldn't get his camera to really stay on clear, but I think everybody gets the point. Very interesting guy, and real privileged to get to sit down and talk to him. I did see there's some people in the chat, some channels, and one guy that comes to mind right away is Life's a Hobby. He just did a really cool video about his overnighter, the one night survival challenge, much like I did last week. If you haven't seen those videos, I recommend looking them up on YouTube. And there's some other bushcrafters in here too, so come on, get out in the bush, stay dirty, stay dusty, and stay in the bush.
Smoke rises up, midnight flame. Stars twinkle like they know my name. In the shadows I build my game. Play with fire, never the same.
Strike the match for the heat, crackling under dancing feet. Embers glow in the darkening street. Hearts ignite in every beat.
Burn, baby, burn, take me higher. Leaving trails of wild desire. Lost in sparks that never tire. We love to make fire. Flames that whisper secrets old. Wonders in the heat untold. Blaze a path in red and gold. The fires dance, brave and bold. Ashes that moonlight.